Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Just a quick video, ahead of the final four group games in the Women's Rugby League World Cup, because we find ourselves in a really interesting situation throughout this tournament, throughout the Women's Rugby League tournament. Don't get me wrong, a lot of blowout scores, a lot of uncompetitive games, but this week it all changes. Over the next 48 hours, I believe we will get all the answers to all the questions that we need for this upcoming World Cup. For instance, are Australia going to run away with this tournament? Are New Zealand capable of stopping them or even coming close? What can England realistically achieve at this World Cup? All three of those main questions will be answered over the next 48 hours because obviously it's England against PNG tonight. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning. Later today it's England taking on Papua New Guinea. Also in that same group, a very interesting game between Canada and Brazil, both games at Headingley Stadium. Tomorrow night it's going to be the Cook Islands against France, huge dead rubber game. I know those words aren't often put together, dead rubber and huge, but don't get me wrong, we'll get into that later. But later on the main event, it's going to be Australia against New Zealand, the two World Cup bookmakers' favourites for the tournament, obviously Australia and the New Zealand, who are not that far behind. So let's get into the first game, because it's England against Papua New Guinea, and this fixture has history. This is not just two teams going head to head in a Group World Cup. This fixture was played back in 2019 during England's tour of Papua New Guinea. Back in Port Moresby, it was PNG who sensationally beat England on their own homeland. Now 2019 was obviously a few years back. Now what has changed in these 3 years, we'll find out tonight. We'll find out whether England have improved, whether PNG have improved. And I'll tell you something, I watched PNG against Brazil. They looked strong, they looked physical, but the first half Brazil didn't do too bad, but in the second half you have to be honest and say Brazil were not up to scratch. We had a really poor performance against PNG in that second half especially. So PNG, do we know much about them from their opening two games? I don't think we yet do. I think this game against England will tell us a lot more, because PNG have looked strong, but the level of opposition has to be taken into account. The same for England though. England have played Canada and Brazil so far. They've looked okay, they've looked confident, it's been a comfortable start. But this is where the World Cup really begins for Craig Richards and his side. This is where the World Cup really begins for England. Here we will see where England stand in this World Cup. Can they get one over PNG? Can they avenge their defeat from 2019? And what can they realistically hope to achieve in this World Cup? Well, we'll find out. If they can beat PNG, secure top spot, they will most likely play, according to the bookmakers, New Zealand, who are expected to come up short against Australia. Now, let me tell you something about New Zealand. Their opening two games, let's face it, they've not been as clinical, they've not been as great as everybody has expected them to be. Now, there are a few reasons for that. Have they fielded their best team yet? No. The first 20 minutes against France, they didn't look good, but for the rest of the game, they looked pretty strong. The same against the Cook Islands. Did New Zealand look as emphatic as we expected them to be? No, but that wasn't their strongest squad. They've made a number of changes. There were a couple of debutants, so we can't really judge New Zealand yet. We will be able to judge New Zealand after this game against Australia. They're playing the best in the business, the best team in the world. Let's see how close they can come, because obviously not that long ago, they picked up a really emphatic victory over the Gillaroos. Can they do it again on the biggest stage of all? This will tell us whether this World Cup is in fact a dead rubber, and whether Australia should just be given the trophy right now, or whether there's still something to play for. If New Zealand can come close, at least close, I'm not saying win, but at least come close, then we have a chance of seeing a competitive final. But imagine if New Zealand don't look that convincing. I'll tell you, if watching New Zealand these first two games, I had the feeling that, if England come up against this New Zealand, England have a chance. England have a shot of pulling off something special, of upsetting the apple cart. But we will really get to know all the answers to all the questions in these two games coming up over the next 48 hours. But while the attention will be on those two games, don't forget about the other two games. Now, I know they're dead rubbers, but as I said before, these will be of huge importance to those nations especially. Canada against Brazil. Brazil had an awful display against PNG. They want to put that right against Canada. Canada Ravens, on the other hand, they don't want to leave this tournament without a win. They want to go home with something to build on. And, they are capable of doing that against Brazil. The other group, the Cook Islands against France. Now, France suffered a world record defeat against Australia over the weekend. A horrible result. I mean, what can you do? France, you could see they gave it everything they had. Effort-wise, everything was there. Quality-wise, Australia were miles and miles ahead. France need to prove a point here. They can't leave this tournament with a donut. They haven't scored a point yet. They have to score a point. They have to get some tries on the board. They have to give a Cook Islands a run for the money. But the Cook Islands, I'll tell you what, been really impressive with the Cook Islands. Been very, very impressive. They lost their captain against New Zealand in the first minute of the match, and they still went on. They only conceded 34 points, and they scored a try as well in the corner, and they threatened for... they had a number of chances to score as well in that encounter. So it'll be interesting to see how the Cook Islands approach this game against France, how the French deal with the pressure. They don't want to leave with a donut. They want to get something on the board, whether it's a win or a few points. They can't. You know, it's not been a great start. I know they're playing New Zealand and Australia, two professional teams, but now they're playing the Cook Islands, a team who they are expected to get the better of, and we will see how close the French can come. Obviously, they'll be a bit demoralised, they'll be a bit upset after what happened in the first two games, but this is an opportunity to put things right. And for the Cook Islands, well, they've got nothing to lose, and I'm telling you, I'm really excited about seeing the outcome of that game. But those are the next 4 games coming up in the Women's World Cup, the final group games. I hope you enjoy them. I certainly will, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.